Well, we can get started then. First
Tim's
in-person
not
meeting in a long time. so
Yeah.
that's good. I want to start with the, well, did you want to give any update on what we talked about last time?
Okay.
I don't know, what, are you planning to be here the whole time or?
Probably not unless you need me for something.
No, that's why I was wondering if you want to update us first. So you can-
Sure, we'll do that. So I put together some stuff. This is a very rough draft, but that's and should have enough copies for everybody, I believe. Based on our conversation, that was last month, right?
Okay.
Talked about this. Was doing some research on what some other municipalities had relative to protection specifically for the agricultural protection district or the strategic farmland protection area. And what that is a draft code that would create a agriculture protection overlay district to overlay the strategic farmland protection area. And kind of is an extra copy that we'll just kind of, or actually, I can do it up. I have it right here. There's other news. Basically, this provides, I would say, generally speaking, if I was summarizing this would provide more teeth than we currently have, but it may not be as far as what we had talked about before. And I just kind of, I'll leave it to you guys to take home and read, whatever the case. But this is mirrored after some other municipalities that have agricultural protection overlay districts where their town code is relatively similar in creation of an agricultural protection overlay district. And it really, I think, let's see, it's the section, it really is designed to really help promote the use of agriculture farming operations in the agricultural protection overlay district. That's kind of the purpose section there. And on page number 6, well, that's not helpful. 1, 2, 3, 4, page 4. On the back side here, 220, 33.2.5 permitted uses, special use permit. It talks about the types of uses relative to the promotion of agricultural operations, and details a lot of that. And then we get to the second to last page, and discusses. That section is supposed to be there that didn't show up for some reason in the print version of this, but anyway, 220-10, it would create the agricultural protection overlay district. And then the very next section, 174-18, that is our section, our existing section of town code relative to subdivision of land. With the exception of number G, I apologize that it's not in red, but G would be a new section that would be added that says, prior to approval by the planning board, proposals of subdivision of land of 7 acres or greater in the agricultural protection overlay district shall demonstrate: 1, the proposed subdivision application has been reviewed by the town agriculture advisory committee. And 2, the planning board shall find the proposed subdivision does not cause a loss of viable agricultural lands, or the applicant is demonstrating an action to advance agricultural or open space protection in the town of Canada. I know we had talked last time about the possibility of requiring like a monetary contribution in that particular area, or some of the other things. And basically, what the gist of the conversation with the attorney was, we could do it. It may not hold up in court.
It's kind of like extortion, isn't it?
We could do it, but leaving a little bit more broad, even though it's not quite as rigid as maybe what we have discussed, maybe it allows the applicant to be creative in what they're going to do to demonstrate the advancement of agricultural or open space protection. Whether that's a set aside of land, maybe it is some sort of contribution, maybe it's whatever it is. Like there's a lot of flexibility. So I wanted to throw the concept out to you guys at least. I know it's not exactly what we talked about last time, but it's kind of along the lines.
You're laying it in here at the same list of all the other uses of lands approved. So what will it take to change land that is called differently to this level? You just put it on top of. the
Yeah,
current
so,
description.
so the map on the back,
Mhm.
so the overlay district, so this first section is all new section here, so this whole first 5 pages up until you get to where that one is that you just pointed out. And the following sections are town code to be amended, so it would just be adding the protection district in that list of districts and then that G section. But this whole first section would be the new section of code with the intent of the agricultural protection overlay district. And the agricultural protection overlay district is defined as part of the town of Trinidad strategic farmland protection area identified on the plan. So it would be everything in the red boundary on the map.
So that boundary will have two regulations. These plus whatever is that they are currently regulated at. So
Right.
if there is still actually,
Right, so
They-
the zoning
they
wouldn't
remain
change,
active.
right, the zoning wouldn't change, so it'd still be AR, mostly AR2, some AR1, but the underlying zoning wouldn't change. The overlay would just create this additional, basically regulations relative to subdivision in the overlay for a parcel of 7 acres or greater, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was most all the municipalities that I looked at that had these agricultural protection overlay districts, they defined it as 7 acres or greater. I believe that's because that's the number for ag markets, right? Isn't that the number?
I think so.
I think
Yeah,
7 acres
it
is the
is.
ag markets number, which I'm sure is where they got that number from. So if you were going to subdivide 7 acres or greater in the agricultural protection overlay district, this would take in. If it's less than 7 acres, it would just be the other one.
but it's only for subdivision, so it doesn't matter if they have 50 acres, if they're just gonna build one house. they can do that.
Guys thinking concept, a lot of details to work out, but concept, does that get a little closer to what we were? I know it's not exactly what we were. Right now, we don't have anything other than this map, and we say to the developer, please don't build inside that red line.
I'll be your best friend.
I think it's a good,
It's a
good
start.
start. How well, so if you have an overlay district over some of these other zoning areas, though, how well will that hold up? Say it does, it's good farmland, we say it's gonna impact the farmland, but they're gonna say, well, yeah, but it's also a AR3 or AR2, whatever. So,
Right, so let's say hypothetically in that situation, there's a subdivision application and the planning board, or the ag committee says it's valuable agricultural land. So then basically, the way this is worded is the planning board, they're gonna have to negotiate with the planning board to get that subdivision approved. Because they're gonna have to either demonstrate to the planning board that it does not cause a loss of valuable agricultural land, or they have demonstrated some sort of an action to advance agriculture or open space protection. So basically, it puts a negotiation with the planning board, but that's what a lot of times the developers are doing anyway, they're negotiating with the planning board. It's a different concept. We don't have this today. It's definitely a different concept.
If we say, okay, let's start with something, let's put this. Having something, does it facilitate or hurts the implementation of something else later?
I don't think it doesn't make sense.
So if we find ideas of how to make this a little more stricter, we can, the fact that it's in there doesn't neither help nor hurt.
That's what we have the ordinance committee for, the Gary chairs.
Yeah, it can be changed.
It can always be changed. So we can find that it's not working and it's causing major problems and we fix it or just get rid of it, or we can find that we need to make some modifications to it. Gary, what are you, I'm curious, I know this is springing this on you because we haven't talked about this and I've been working on this even today for this meeting, but with your agriculture background as well as your experience with the ordinance committee, what do you think that they would kind of think about an overlay district for something along this line? Any idea?
I don't, because we haven't discussed it at all, so, I mean, I'd hate to even guess what they would think.
I didn't do a separate overlay district for the Paddlefoot Brook Greenway because it's for the most part fully included in the strategic plan protection.
Yeah, the only part that's not,
It's just a small
the little
piece.
part is that, you know, if something like this is adopted, it could be replicated for the forest protection.
Right. It absolutely could be.
If PCB or whoever thought that might be something.
Most all, I was looking at this today, almost all of the land in the strategic permanent protection area is AR2. On the northeast corner of the town of Canada, there is an AR1 up there that's in the strategic permanent protection area. Basically, the area to the south of the Powerful Brook Greenway inside the red line, some of that's AR1 in that area, but all the rest of it's AR2. But the uses are the same between AR1 and AR2. It's just the size, right? And then the only other piece is there's a portion of the hamlet of Cheshire that is actually located within the strategic permanent protection area, right on the edge there. And so there's a little bit of, what is that, Gary, neighborhood commercial, I think there's.
Neighborhood commercial, yes.
There's a little bit of that there, but it doesn't, doing it this way with an overlay district, it doesn't change any of the base zoning. So that all still exists. It's just, if the parcel is 7 acres or greater, that's when this would trigger on the subdivision.
So it wouldn't have a negative impact on development in Cheshire.
Right. It wouldn't have a negative impact on the underlying zoning at all. And it wouldn't even have a negative impact on a parcel of 6.99 acres or less. Because it's really I think the purpose of what we talked about right at the last meeting was we're not really trying to stop maybe even a farmer from subdividing a smaller lot off or something or other like that. It's the larger loss of the big parcels for subdivision. And a lot of throw a lot at you here, but I wanted to get this to you so you can take it with you and start looking at it and read through. We can always go back and make changes. There's a lot of it. A lot of it was specific in the examples that I saw from the other municipalities, really to spell out the right to engage in agricultural practices. That's this whole other section. It's the page 4 there, and really talks about, makes it clear that in the agricultural protection overlay district, we are also
There's no restriction.
encouraging.
Those type of things.
Right. Mhm.
So the only negotiation is for developments.
Correct.
Any of this, and if they automatically approve.
Right. Now, the one thing I do want to check is, and I just didn't have time to really go through it, the permitted special uses versus our current permitted uses. And for instance, the AR1, AR2, I want to make sure we're not making it more restrictive. I don't believe we are. One of the things that this really does is allows, I feel like, some additional agriculture operations based on what this other municipality did in this agriculture district. Like for instance, horse boarding. I don't believe, no, we do require special use permit. Yeah, it is a special use permit. So I just want to go through and compare and make sure that we're not inadvertently making it more difficult for somebody. And
Read it over and take a look at our schedule, next meeting or maybe. cover it
Next
again.
regular or,
Next
right,
regular.
the next one is gonna be all.
Yeah, next regular, maybe the August meeting.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing it. Bill.
I'm glad we made this about it because it's been bothering me because I know that we don't really have any real protection other than that red line, that strategic farming protection.
You had mentioned something about a proposed development on the Taylor property, but has that been sold or is there just a?
I think it's more conversation. It's the current landowner, what I understand with potential developer.
Nothing more new on the Morel development?
No, I think, is that one of your referrals today?
No.
No. It's, okay, it's, technically it's before the planning board, and there's kind of going some back and forth with the planning board and everything, still some details to work out with the easements and those sorts of things.
You guys, something
Well, plenty of studying to do.
to go through.
Got some homework to take on.
Even if before the meeting, if anybody has questions, we can email back and forth or get a hold of you. Will you be able to come to the next meeting?
T8?
Whatever the first
The fifth, I
Thursday
think.
in
Yeah.
August is.
Oh,
You guys have a meeting next week too, but that's the July 8th, and that's just for the fair.
Yep.
It would be, your August meeting would be on the 5th.
We'll try to figure something out. The other thing that we just mentioned too, we're beginning budget season for us, so if there's a request. from the end.
The next week, if we get something, that'll come up out of the fair, because that's really the only thing that I can see was investing this time was the family discussions.
And this would be for the 22 budget. We're starting off
We should remind us of how much we're doing.
$100. I know we
We're
have
a little
more
more
than
than
that.
We can, we're all done.
Yeah.
Go to the gate.
Time for a few minutes in case we need
The fair. I think probably 2 people may join us from the Watershed Association. They're pretty excited about it. So hopefully, we can get some good idea of what we're gonna do next week because we don't have much time to plan.
Well, it's good. Yeah, so we're just working on it.
I think they'll already have some pretty good resources because they do quite a bit of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we've got watershed education stuff. They've got a table that tells to show how water travels over the land.
But I'll ask them about that.
Take it, well, I might be confusing them with soil and water. One of them. There's schools with that.
Well, I'm sure they've got access to some of that kind of stuff. They're pretty engaged group from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to decide what we need on our end from, I don't know, Fernando, do you have access to anything for your company or?
It will be videos, it won't be any tangible that people can walk around. But I can ask around to see what we can do.
And I think I sent an email the proposed time that Casey had given us for the fair presentation.
Yeah.
do we know what building we're having?
I think it's the same, it's the newer building, the one that
The
we
new
did
one?
last time. Just look it up quick.
That's good.
Yeah, it would be Thursday, the 29th at 4 p.m. He said that Farm Bureau is doing something right before us, so if we think that there's anybody there that wants to be involved, we might have extra people too.
That's July, right?
Yep.
There's nothing more time to make something.
No, not a lot. Might be able to get some, well, I guess for, maybe tonight we should talk a little bit about what we want to focus on from the farming aspect of that.
Yeah. You guys talked about, we couldn't meet last year, we talked about, how can people understand how farming mitigate issues with the watershed.
Yeah, so I was
rather
thinking,
than everybody just always thinks
talk about some different types of tillage techniques or no-till.
Yeah, I mean, so some of the things that would be nice to show is, okay, what was the past? So there was a lot of exposed land, spread land on top. What is it doing now with dragging? What is the difference? And I just a compare contrast the evolution of farming techniques and then put it in the evolution of lawn care. Before we didn't know anything, now we're discussing a lot of things. And what's happening to those? So one is improving, the other one is decaying. Is that I think that's what I see the idea of people just getting the shock of how I didn't see that coming.
Do we
Yeah, like-
have anything as far as what lawn care is doing? Do we have any numbers? Do we have any articles?
Not peer review, I just have found little different things,
Yeah.
commentaries, but I would like to have a review.
The watershed
Yeah,
association
watershed,
has-
yeah.
they
Well,
have a lot
that's
of-
good then, yeah.
You know, I mentioned soil and water, they have all their, agricultural. AEM programs, remember? That's some of those are on the same ones too, like they have farm for commercial, and, grants for farms for like the grass, waterways.
They do huge projects with a farm, we don't even own it, we rent it. And you can see Canandaigua Lake, and it was like $100,000 to catch all the water, because it took all the water off both sides of the road, and they put a big stone ditch, and I was like, oh my God, it's overkill, but I tell you, in 3 days apart, I've seen that ditch run full of water, like you could kayak down. So it works, and it's got a pit slash pool, but stops the water, mud from getting in Canandaigua Lake from that whole area before you get to just above deep run. So, yeah. But if there was an extra grant, that's a federal program.
Can't remember where they're funding.
I know I can come up with probably some photos of different tillers and some of that kind of stuff. And then some like nutrient or fertilizer comparisons, I think they'd be able to help us out with that.
I think for the ferry, it would be better to have those in poster
Yeah.
format,
Yeah.
so they stand, than just in a PowerPoint that someone presents, and then if you're not there, you didn't get it. Or we can have a TV with recorded video, but the posters are sitting there. for everyone to see.
Casey was wondering about a time frame. I figured about an hour or less is plenty of time for presentation for two groups. That would fit into their time frame, like 4 to 5.
Yeah,
That
so we can
sounds
leave those
reasonable.
posters for the rest of-
Yeah.
the rest of the day. sitting there.
That building is pretty large, I wonder if they'd let you bring the posters early.
Yeah, 'cause like I said, I know they're doing some other presentations there, but maybe we can have that there, or maybe even in another spot at a time or afterwards.
Well, didn't they say they had 2 rooms there?
There is one that is pretty small,
Small.
and it's not usually open for people to be walking through, at least it was not the only year that it's been open.
The last time we were there, the one end, they had posters and tables down there, and it was open on the other end where we had the meeting.
Actually, there's
So-
two new buildings that we've used there, I think. Right? And one year we just had like a meeting, like this in one of the buildings.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
And then the other year, the one I think the building that I'm thinking of is the one that we did the PDR presentation in.
was it you that had the corn? For the
Oh,
kids
that
to
was
play
the
in?
new
Oh,
highway
That
building.
was a
New
different
building.
building.
Oh, no, we did
No.
that at the very
No.
beginning.
Right.
That was-
Right.
Yeah, that was in
Right.
one of the older buildings.
Right.
I'll reach out to the watershed people ahead of time too, because they'll be able to prepare some stuff, or have some ideas. So,
When and where is our next meeting then? Next,
You have a
Thursday.
meeting next Thursday, 6
Yeah.
o'clock. We can have it here if you want it.
yeah, I believe they were fine meeting in person. I'll double check, but I believe they started meeting in person again as well. They came to the farm for a tour, and that was the first thing they had done in like a year. Well, they had regular meetings, but they're all Zoom meetings. More on that. I guess we'll have to decide too, how we want to split up presenting or who wants to.
I think the first part is just gathering the data. Good data.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do before next Thursday. And then
See,
we'll really
let's-
assign to each other, whatever is the goals.
Seems like they're still keeping the fair kind of low key. 'Cause I haven't
It does seem
heard a
that.
lot. Haven't heard a lot.
everybody. So sorry for being late.
well,
That's why, I mean, I would have liked to plan a lot farther ahead, but it just seemed like they were just kind of waiting.
I think
I
everybody
did
was,
ask Casey about that. He said they're just kind of, yeah, just in case something really changes, you never know. So,
That's right, nervous to cut it all out.
I guess. They're postponing fun on the farm for 1 year though.
Is that supposed to be at your place?
It takes a lot of planning and
A lot of work.
at this point, it looks like it probably would have been fine to do, but we decided to just wait a year. Hopefully everything's completely normal then.
Yeah, by the time they say it's okay,
You never
you
know.
lost planning time.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time, so. We'll just wait a year, no problem.
When you pull up your referral stuff.
Yeah, we'll do the referrals. Minutes.
So you have two, seems to be your
No,
number.
there's an exit. What?
they're open.
who? Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
He's
So-
retired this year.
Who?
Well, I retired.
I like that. She wasn't sure.
so your first one is over on New Cox Road. The project is only for this section here. I guess it's being subdivided from the rest of it. And they, which one? I'm sorry. This is, oh, can you pull back up?
Hardy's land is across the street.
Because
South the other side.
So the parcel in question is this chunk here of that larger piece. And here it is turned kind of sideways. That's that white barn that's already there. And this is what they're proposing. House, an extra ag building, septic, driveway, etc.
Is that done?
It's this.
So that's in back. Hardy's.
Yeah, but there is nothing in that land that is out of.
No.
That's that-
within code, correct?
It's a pasture. And Donnie works for Charlie, he's part of the farm operation, he's the succession plan for that farm.
Yeah, but my point, there is nothing there that is not really code and the right to build. Or is there any negotiation?
Yeah, Donald and Monica Miller are the owners.
In terms of the subdivision.
No, it's just how it's not a subdivision.
Well, that's still be a subdivision of the land.
Yeah,
They want to
so
separate that.
because they're taking that, I didn't actually
So,
see that in the application, maybe it's already happened, I don't think this is one.
who's father, she said he's trying to-
He's Charlie's deputy. That's correct.
So yeah, that's their plan is
someone who his father is.
just
There's a
build a
lot
house.
of-
I know it is.
And then I had all the soils and stuff brought up. It is in the ag district. It didn't receive a rating from either the ag plan. Actually, sorry, let me say that again. We're dealing with a little chunk. So the ag plan and the open space plan looked at the big, whatever it is, 130 acres. So I don't know how you want to look at that. There is a stream and a little patch of woodland, so the open space plan rating was kind of low moderate, probably because it's big and it has woods in the stream. The larger parcels tend to rate higher than smaller parcels, but again, I don't know how this little chunk would have rated because they didn't do it because it wasn't its own parcel. at the time.
That's the only part they're doing anyway.
Right, they're gonna build a house right about here. The barn, this barn is gonna stay, they're building another agricultural building, it says in the plans, and then the house and garage and septic system over here, and again, here. It says ag building. When you look at it.
That means it's a shop or a,
It's storage farm. It's a pasture, right? It's not farm, it's not being farmed now.
It's a pasture, it's really has no farm value.
Right.
So
It just says new agricultural barn or something like that.
So I don't see why.
So we're not taking, he's not taking any agricultural
No.
land
No,
that we would,
He's gonna anchor it, basically, he's gonna anchor the farm down for the next generation. He has a son after that, so.
It's a good thing.
Who knows, maybe he won't go to his son. Might go to another nephew or something like that, or at least.
So I'll make a motion that there's no negative impact on farmland.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
So the next one. This one, and they're subdividing this chunk off. And their application says they aren't planning to do anything with it. There is an existing house on the parcel. That's right here. And it looks like they're just taking this field out. Here's the pond. Here's the creation of the new parcel. So it'll be lot 1 and lot 2. This is another parcel owned by somebody else that's already like that. Right here.
that the intention of selling or something like that.
Well, when they fill out the application, they say what their intention is. It says current use residential, proposed use, vacant land, proposed, no development plans.
Yeah.
That's what.
Is it middle Cheshire Road, I think?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
That
zoom
house
out a
was for
little
sale
bit.
not too long ago.
It It's close to the southern tip of Middle Cheshire Road.
Yeah, that house was for sale not too long ago. I remember an open house in that area. We were driving back from Amanda and we saw the sign. And anytime that we see this big open house, why not? So, we were not looking for a house, but we walked by.
What was the size of that?
All right, okay, so, it'll end up, the larger parcel will be 20.9 acres and that smaller one will be 7.6 acres. And the existing house will end up being on the larger parcel,
So why do they want to subdivide it then?
because they said they aren't going to do anything with it. That's what it says in the
Well,
So
application.
we're going through all this
They didn't
expense for no reason at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't born yesterday.
Airport at night.
I'm sure it's
Last
out
night.
in the planning board, maybe, I don't know. But that's what they
Maybe
wrote.
they want to give it to one of their offspring.
But they
or
wrote a
something.
letter or something along with it, but I did not see anything else.
What's this, what were the soil types?
Awful.
That's probably for the whole thing, not just for that
Yeah.
part.
Again,
We
yeah,
did
I
that
can
bigger
only show
proposal.
you,
The percent is gonna be very skewed, so I can know that little piece, what they represent, that would be probably the best part of everything, based on the pictures.
I don't know why it says that ag district is only 4%, because this one is, oops, is in the ag district. I looked at it, the whole thing is yellow, so I don't know, that part is wrong on this one. But the soils should be correct. And again, yes, you're right, soils are for this whole chunk. So
It's a pretty nicely shaped field too.
I can turn on the layer and we can look right at it.
Is it currently being farmed? Why do we have this? sitting here in front of us?
Because all of these
It's
other
like-
farms around here, even if, I mean, it looks like it is,
It definitely looks.
It looks
better.
like that.
and even if it's not, the other ones are indeed. So it's also not too far from the Lifers PDR. Not next to it, but
So, north of the,
what was I getting for you? Oh, I was gonna turn on the soils.
So our recommendation, evidently it's being farmed from from the images that we have here sitting in front of us. And there's no real clear reason why.
Oh, it's
That's
this
not,
one.
that's not for us to decide, but, the ruling would be, they're gonna lose 8 acres of farmland that's currently being farmed.
But they're not gonna sell it or do anything with it, are they?
Well, we don't know they're losing it. I don't know what they're gonna do. This
Eventually
one is
they're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Oh, they want to do it.
15, this one is 3 to 8%, and that is leave alone 3 to 8%. That's pretty much what's on that chart, those three.
Well, before in our we put a comment in that we,
You wish you would have known what they were gonna do.
yeah, a little more information.
And I think that's fair. I say,
I do.
if there is no planned action, why separating it? If there is a planned action, it'll be important to know the conditions of the smaller parcel, because it is agricultural land. It is usual agricultural land.
I'm guessing the planning board is gonna ask for that information too. They're just being cagey.
So it's just for us to go ahead and say is a loss of farmland. Well, this is kind of like a gray area. They're not gonna do anything with it. It can't possibly be a loss of farmland if it's gonna remain
That's why they're
being
saying.
farmed. But if there's other plans, different plans
Yeah.
than what we know about, then it has a high potential
My
to be a
mo-
loss. of
Well, we don't
farmland would be the wording that I would.
my motion would just say that separating those 7 acres increases the risk of that land being lost from agriculture.
like that.
Yeah.
Second that.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And that clearly states it doesn't matter what you're gonna do. 7 acres by itself.
Right.
highly likely that. Because they're more affordable for anyone to buy into the house.
That's what we go about building a house or buying a house or.
I said you want affordable, I might 100 acres to build a house.
Houses are trying
They say the market is peak.
Well, I'm just saying that people can pay for it.
Well, that's what's happening.
I think we just.
We're not able to
say.
No, I
1.5%, 1.5%
I'm not
interest.
gonna buy it.
People are not ready to take kind of out there. Just wait, it's gonna fall.
I think so.
And then here it comes, the Papa government having to bail out everybody, and we'll have to pay for it.
I don't see any other information.
We've seen some like that before.
Yeah,
We never, be interesting to hear what happens to them sometimes, because I'm sure that question must be asked. By, like you said,
People
planning
don't
board.
do that just for the cause, so either they're splitting up their estate or they're going to sell it and they just are trying to be clever.
The other one we did like that was the lease part. Who are these individuals?
Well, like Sarah said, the planning board will probably ask the question, but maybe we ought to just make sure that the planning board does ask the question. You know, just why is it being divided if there's no plans to do anything with it?
Yeah, I suppose it could, somebody could use it as a estate planning or something. and leave that
I mean,
for
it's
it.
possible.
But
People do
when they
stuff
leave
like
that to their kids.
They're gonna go bridge over.
Regardless what they do, I mean,
Yeah.
it's more possibilities for it.
It's a nice big pond.
It must be a 5-acre pond. It's a 7-acre parcel, maybe. More.
Go,
Even though.
go offer to buy, you can buy the 7 acres in the pond.
Yeah,
We've got a bunch of fish, but I guess I'm
Yeah,
fishing
That's
now.
big.
Stuck it up. Very good.
you only had two, that was it.
Do you have anything else to add?
I think so. Taylor, Doug updated us. On our meeting next week.
I make the
Could
motion.
you give me a quick summary? of
Yep.
what I've missed? I'd appreciate that.
Did you get a copy? Yeah, you have a copy of that. So Doug put together some ideas from other municipalities. Or if you want to tell them what you did, quick.
So
You know
basically,
what it is.
it's along the lines of what we talked about, a little bit different from what we talked about the last meeting, with the creation of a agricultural protection overlay district to actually put all the way to the back, just the back page, to put the strategic farmland protection area, everything in the red, in an agricultural protection overlay district. That basically what it would amount to is if you're going to subdivide a parcel of 7 acres or greater, you have to demonstrate either that it's not a loss of valuable agricultural lands or demonstrate some sort of action towards the protection of functional agriculture. That's the gist.
Makes a lot of sense. By the way, at the bottom of Parish Street Extension, driving down 5 and 20, and there was a lady sitting there with a dog, track clear, and she couldn't get across the road. It was dinner time. And I thought, you know, that's gonna happen more and more with these 90 extra houses up there. If they're going to build it, they should put a pedestrian bridge across 5 and 20.
That's true. People never get to do that.
That's the same area where that brown girl was killed.
Molly Brown,
You know, when my daughter was in high school.
she was in one of my kids' class.
It's gonna be a real problem.
In terms of the fair for next week's meeting, we're going to start doing a little research of information that we can set aside for the how agricultural practice are improving or reducing the loss on those farms, just to have ideas so we can.
We're gonna meet Thursday next week. again. That's-
Yeah, and I think the general consensus is here.
And there'll be a couple people from the Watershed Association joining us, but they're gonna do their presentation with us. We can adjourn. Good to see everyone in person.
Short meeting.
Yeah.